Hello, my name's Steve Littlewood. This series of video tutorials is designed to accompany my book on creating relatively simple Pictures to Execute digital slideshows. Pictures to Execute is also known as Pictures to Exe or PTE. Throughout the tutorials I'll be using a PC computer with the Windows 7 operating system. If you're using a Mac, then most of the programs should operate in a similar way. My aim is to take you through all of the stages in making of a Pictures to Exe show. To accomplish all of the tasks needed, I'll be using the following programs. Windows Explorer. This is the file management program built into Windows. Adobe Bridge, the file management program for Photoshop and other Adobe programs. Adobe Camera Raw. This is Adobe's RAW file converter, which is built into Photoshop, and I'll be assuming that all my pictures have been taken in a RAW file. Photoshop, this is version CS6. And of course Pictures to Exe, and I'll be using version 7.5. Most of the programs cover a vast range of capabilities, which are beyond the scope of a tutorial such as these. However, I'll be covering the main points needed to carry out the specific tasks for the production of a digital projected slideshow. The term slideshow is a carryover from the time when we used to project our film-based transparency photographs onto the big screen. These pieces of film were mounted in rigid 2" by 2" plastic mounts, which we call slides. Over the series of tutorials I'll be covering a range of topics including creating folders to store the project images in, the initial image sorting, the raw file image processing, final Photoshop work. I'll be automating some of the raw image processing and Photoshop work to speed up the whole flow of the project. And I'll be running through the whole sequence of Pictures to Exe tasks through to the final production of the exe file, the executable file. I'll be creating a small show of images I've taken on Skomer Island. Skomer Island is a wildlife sanctuary situated off the southwest tip of Wales. I'll also include a musical soundtrack. So a quick overview of how Pictures to Exe works. So during the production of a Pictures to Exe show, your project is stored in a file that you create and name with a PTE extension. If we just go back to Windows Explorer, in my demo folder, you can see one I've got here, Demo Picture Show PTE. So as you add photographs, sounds and music to your project, Pictures to Exe creates links to each of these data files and renders them as a virtual representation in the project. So if I double click on this image here, it's added to the project window there, and it's only a virtual representation. There's a link to the original location of that file. That is not embedded within this file at the moment. This means that none of the data, the photographs and music, are actually embedded within the project file. The benefit of this is that your project files remain surprisingly small until they're finally rendered into an executable file or a video file. And if we go back to the Windows Explorer here, we can see our demo file, Pictures to Exe, is only 81 kilobytes, whereas the fully rendered executable file is 160 megabytes. What this means is that Pictures to Exe relies on these links to remain intact. So if an image or music is moved or deleted, then Pictures to Exe can no longer find the required data, and you'll get an error message similar to that. So to help prevent that, it's a good idea to set up a series of folders purely for your Pictures to Exe project. These can then be populated with pictures, music and even videos that will be used in the show. So preparing the project. When preparing a digital slideshow, you need to know you need to carry out some of the initial preparatory work in order to ensure your tasks progress smoothly. First, you need to decide on how the image is going to be presented. In the case of this demonstration, it will be to a full high-definition digital projector to be shown in a Camera Club environment. The projector I intend to use has a native resolution of 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels tall. The show produced will of course run on any full high definition or larger computer monitor. It will also run on smaller monitors with lower resolutions, but you won't get the full quality of the HD images. So this means that if you wish to fill the screen with an image, it ideally needs to be to the exact dimensions of the output file, of the intended output. So 1920 by 1080 pixels. In this case, I'll size that image exactly. And this has got an aspect ratio of 16 across to 9 vertical, which is a HD aspect ratio. If you wish to include a range of zooms, pans and rotations within the show, then images need to be sized larger than the 1920 by 1080 pixels, because we'll be zooming into a larger area or smaller area there, so that quality is not lost in the presentation. You need to ensure that when fully zoomed into an area, into an image, say around there, the area covered, that's the cropped area, does not reduce the remaining image to less than 1920 by 1080 pixels in that illustration there. So for example, with a photograph 5000 pixels by 3200 pixels, which is the resolution of my Canon 1D Mark IV, and it's a 16 megapixel image, you could zoom into about 2.5 times before we get to the 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels effective resolution limit. Your picture should also be saved in the JPEG file format and in the sRGB color space.